I'm excited. You're excited. And if you aren't, you really should be. Look, we're all excited. Get ready for the most epic TV battle of 2021. Welcome back, everyone. I'm Caleb Dennison, and yes, today we are comparing the LG G1 OLED EVO against the Sony Bravia XR A90J OLED, the two best 4K OLEDs from each brand, both of them representing the next generation of OLED because each of them is brighter than any OLED TV we've seen before. We're going to take a quick look at design and user experience, talk about how each TV gets at that new brightness and figure out which TV is actually brighter and whether that matters, and of course take a look at picture quality as a whole before getting some gaming stuff, all to determine which TV deserves a coveted spot in your home. Or maybe neither of them do, I don't know. That's what we're going to find out, so let's get to it. Before we dive in, as you may have heard, it looks like the Sony could end up being as much as $1,200 more than the LG. Prices always come down in time, but leave me a comment about whether you think there should be such a price difference. And while you're down there, please like and subscribe because I need your help getting to 1 million subs. Way too many of you watching not subscribed. Also, as always, we have shopping links to the products we review in the description. So if you'd like to help this channel out that way, that would be amazing. I'm out of breath. Let's get to it. Okay, starting with design. The LG G1, as part of the Gallery series, is really meant to be mounted on the wall. The TV has an even thickness across the back, so it doesn't have that pencil-thin profile we see with OLEDs, but this TV comes with a flush mount in the box, and frankly, looks better on the wall than the Sony, which has the more traditional pencil-thin form factor and a little bit of a butt on it that pushes that slick, thin part away from the wall. So the LG comes out on top for wall mounting, but the Sony is the better pick for stand mounting. If you want to use a soundbar, you can set up the TV feet so that it leaves space for it underneath the TV and between the feet. But if no soundbar is involved, I love this flush to the stand approach Sony uses. It is clearly a more attractive setup than the LG with its add-on feet, which do not come with the TV, by the way, and cost $100, and also leave plenty of space to see cables if you don't use a soundbar. Now, onto user experience, which I mean to encompass not just the smart TV platform, but also all the menus and settings you have to interact with when setting up, adjusting, and customizing the TV. As far as smart TV platforms go, LG's newly overhauled WebOS is solid. I like the dark theme, it's easier to read, feels a little more serious and less bubbly than before. It's easy to navigate, and just about everything you need is here, except HBO Max, for now anyway. The LG G1 also supports Amazon's you-know-who, the Google Assistant, and has its own AI assistant built in. The Sony, on the other hand, runs Google TV, and I dig it. The more I use it, the more I like it, and I'm glad the experience I've been getting on my Chromecast is finally on a TV. The recommendation engine is getting better the more I use it, and if I want to use voice, Google Assistant is here. Now, outside of the smart TV stuff, you've got how you interact with the TV and get to certain settings, how you make adjustments, that sort of thing. I found the LG has a lot more settings built in, and some of them are very useful. Take the Gaming Optimizer dashboard. We'll talk more about that later. It's great, but I found that wading through this stuff can be a little sluggish, and the logic tree the menu is built on can be a little frustrating to navigate sometimes. Maybe that won't be a big deal to you. I have to wait around in these menus for hours at a time, so maybe I'm just whining. I have to argue, though, that the Sony's overall interactive experience is better. It's very clear about where settings live, and not only that, but it pops out these little explainer boxes so you know what pushing that button or moving that slider bar is going to do. Now, let's talk about panels and processing. Normally, not exciting stuff, but in this case, both elements have everything to do with picture quality and just how bright the TVs can get. So the LG G1 has what LG calls its OLED Evo panel, OLED evolved, right? And what that means behind the scenes is that there is a new panel here with more pure red and blue pixels and a more accurate green pixel structure that veers away from yellow a bit so that you have more accurate and brighter color. LG also leans on its Alpha 9 Gen 4 processor in conjunction with the new panel to judiciously juice up the panel to be bright where it needs to, when it needs to, for as long as it needs to. Sony's approach is a little bit different. It looks like Sony is probably using the same advanced panel LG is. I do not have confirmation on that from Sony yet, and I may not get it, but I'll pin a comment if I do. But it doesn't matter that much because Sony is doing something LG is not by adding a heat sink to the panel structure that allows the panel to be driven harder without compromising the OLED materials in the process. Also, I should mention the Sony's color is pinpoint accurate when properly set up, so whether it uses the same panel as the LG doesn't matter practically because the Sony is exactly where it needs to be for brightness and color. So which is brighter? I'm going to get to that in a minute. First, let's talk about sound. Yeah, look, I know some of you may think, look, if you're going to drop thousands on a TV, why not at least fetch a decent soundbar? I get it, but Some folks just want a TV and no extra equipment, and if you are going to spend so much on a TV, it should sound good. Fortunately, both of these TVs sound great, but there is a clear winner. The LG has a remarkable amount of low end considering how thin it is, more bass than you'd expect, and dialogue clarity is never a problem. It also has a nice amount of refined treble, which adds sparkle just where you want it, never harsh. The only thing I don't care for is the AI Pro sound, which I think has a really artificial wash to it as it tries to create virtual surround effects. I think the standard sound mode with LG's optimizations is great, and I say just stick to that. The Sony sounds better though. The screen is the speaker system thanks to transducers mounted to the screen itself, and there's a subwoofer system that Sony beefed up this year hiding in the back of the TV. Paired up with Sony's audio processing, the TV sounds insanely good. Solid bass, incredible localization of sounds on the screen, and the virtual surround effects are super impressive. At least that's how it played out in this room. Okay, the part you've all been waiting for, or maybe you skipped ahead, I don't know, doesn't matter. It's picture quality time. First, let's talk brightness. When I measured the LG in cinema mode, I got about 400 nits in SDR and about 830 nits in HDR. I got 860 nits in vivid mode. Now, those figures could be a little low due to the nature of the light meter I used. It's probably closer to 900 nits in HDR. Even so, the G1 is significantly brighter than any prior year's OLED. And you don't need a meter to know it's true. You can very plainly see it as a brighter OLED TV. Also, out of the box, the LG's white balance, which influences color accuracy, was spot on. I didn't have to touch a thing, and that's never been true before, not even with the Sony here. So that's great news for anyone not hiring a calibrator. On the Sony A90J in custom mode, I got about 360 nits peak in SDR, 800 in HDR, and a whopping 1250 nits in vivid mode. Adjusting for the meter, that's probably closer to the 1300 nits we've seen registered by others. So by the numbers, the LG looks a little more powerful until you get to vivid mode, and that's where the Sony really goes beast mode. Frankly though, I would never use vivid mode unless I was hosting a party in the middle of the day where I wanted the ball game to be piercingly bright even though the sun was shining right on the TV. So honestly, I don't care about that 1300 nits number, nor do I care too much about the measurements because everything changes when the rubber hits the road. And by that, I mean when you are actually watching TV and not a white box on a black background, which by the way is terribly unentertaining. The LG and Sony have different ways about using their brightness powers for good, but there are a few instances where I feel like one is brighter than the other. It's really about how the TVs handle HDR highlights, where the TVs choose to clip, how the HDR tone mapping is handled, so you see details in bright areas and in shadow areas too. Both of them are excellent. They're just different. Personally, I like the Sony A90J for overall picture quality, and I think it comes down to its new Bravia XR cognitive processor. Never mind the name and the manufacturer's claim, I just love what I see and I know it's the processor doing it. But the LG G1 does have an ace up its sleeve and it cannot be denied. Gaming chops. 4 HDMI 2.1 inputs, 4K 120Hz gaming with HDR and variable refresh rate, with G-Sync and FreeSync support on top of that, and it all works right now, right out of the box. Plus, LG has a killer gaming optimizer dashboard that gives incredible control over the gaming experience, from input lag reduction to raising black levels for really dark games so you can see your enemies before they're right on top of you. The LG G1 is arguably the best gaming TV you can buy, with the C1 not far behind it. The Sony A90J is also great for gaming, but it comes with a few limitations. One is that there are only two 4K 120Hz ports, and one of them is the eARC port, which is a little limiting. The other issue is that it doesn't look like Sony has variable refresh rate totally sorted out. VRR support was and is supposed to come to 2020 TVs this spring, but I'm concerned it may be quite a bit later than that. There's also the remote possibility that there will never be VRR support. Who knows? But if you take VRR out of the equation and you look practically at gameplay with the PlayStation 5 and even the Xbox Series X, it's still an excellent gaming experience. I mean, 120Hz gaming is super smooth, no blur, and the HDR effects are gorgeous. But still, the LG G1 comes out on top. So which TV is the better one for you? There is no one size fits all here. It's all about your needs. Which one should you buy? I mean, I don't know. How well off are you? How's your Dogecoin doing? Because if you have the means and hardcore gaming features aren't a priority, then I would get the Sony A90J because I simply adore this TV. It makes me feel things. But for most of you, frankly, the LG G1 is by far the smarter choice. At least for now. It is far less expensive, it is a top-notch performer, and there's no better gaming TV right now. It's also still expensive, but far more attainable than the Sony. So While I love the Sony A90J and I would buy it in a heartbeat, I'm gonna have to say the LG comes out on top in this battle because it brings that super premium experience to a larger audience. Congratulations, you made it to the end of the video. I hope you liked it. We definitely had fun making it for you. Now for a little more fun, and so I know you made it here, let me know what your favorite food is. Like you're stranded on an island and get to eat one thing forever. What is it? Leave that down in the comments so I know who you, right now, are. Also, please slap like and subscribe, and here's 2 other videos I think you'll like.